Well, hey there. Welcome to the new normal. I have been a little busy this week talking with lots and lots of people who are very upset. I am doing all my client work this way now because we're, of course, sort of whatever they call it, sheltered in place or something. So anyway, I've been doing telehealth visits for a couple years and it really works quite fine. So it hasn't been too big of an adjustment on my end. But people out there are having a really hard time right now, which makes perfect stress. I have a bunch of notes of things that I've talked with my clients about that they've found helpful, that they've shared with me, things I've shared with them, and together, we're going to get through this and make it work. I'm talking a lot about navigating between denial and hysteria, right? Because we've all seen those images or videos of people from churches who are like, God isn't going to let us get this, and if you have faith, you'll be fine, so keep coming to church. Clearly denial. And hysteria are the people fighting over toilet paper in the supermarket, and people buying guns and ammo. And I don't know if they think the zombies from The Walking Dead are going to, be coming out after us or what. But I don't think either extreme is good. And of course, how do we find middle ground? I think I spend a lot of time with people who are going in extreme directions, and we're always trying to find what's the best way to navigate this. And somewhere there's a middle ground. We're dealing with the unknown right now, and people always have a much harder time with that. If you know what you're coping with, if we knew what the rules were going to be in a month or 6 months, we'd be better prepared. But I think when people have no idea what's happening, and particularly when our government can't seem to get it together and they don't know what's happening and they're not necessarily always being honest with us, that just makes everybody more and more upset, which I completely understand. I'm having to manage my own anxiety with this stuff. I think overall I'm doing pretty good because I talk to other people about it all day long, which keeps me focused on what I'm doing in the ways of anxiety and self-care and battling depression and all that. But hey, I cried today a little bit. It's just sad. People are having major losses. So a lot of what's going on, well, I'll say two things that are going on. One is grief. People that had their dream weddings planned, one of them being my cousin who may be seeing this. Weddings that they've waited for a decade are now canceled. They're not going to happen. People that plan to be at the birth of their first grandchild in 2 weeks are being told you can't come in the hospital, you can't be here. People that have been watching their grandchildren in as daycare, and they can't do that anymore because the kids may be sick and they're too old. So it's just loss after loss after loss. College students leaving campus, going back home, although in some cases they're very happy about that. But everybody's affected, and my gosh, our poor doctors and nurses. I can't imagine, folks. We love you and we owe you everything for still showing up and doing your best for us. So anyway, we're dealing with a lot. The grief is real. I don't want to minimize it. I don't want to say, good things will always come out of this, even though I can see a few good things that I'll talk about at the end. But I don't want to catastrophize it either. And in truth, we're not living in The Walking Dead. We are not going to have zombies beating down the door, coming through the windows. And if we can all find ways to work on what we're doing in our heads and support each other, I think we're going to be fine. I really do. Most of us are going to be fine. And even though people are very frightened of death right now, in a way, isn't that always something we should be aware of? Because any of our loved ones could be gone at any given time. COVID-19 or car accident, things happen. And so maybe one of the positives is that we can start to just really be aware of all the people that we love and what they mean to us, and how we really should be living every day with appreciation for all the good things that we do have. So I'll talk about dysregulation first. And what I mean by that, I'm going to try not to use too much psychobabble, but when we're not grounded, when we're not calm, when we're agitated, upset, we're in a state of dysregulation. And that's a normal response to stress. It's a neurobiological thing. It happens to everybody. It doesn't mean you're mentally ill. It doesn't mean you're crazy. But we talk a lot about the anxiety center of the brain, which gets activated when there's too much stress. And that's, you've all heard about fight, flight, or freeze, right? And so most people are navigating how not to go into that right now. And when we're caught up in fight, flight, or freeze, we're in a state of dysregulation, and it affects our mind, our thinking patterns, our emotions, and our physical health, and the way we're dealing with our bodies and our coping mechanisms. When we're dysregulated, we're not doing a very good job. So fight, flight, or freeze. Fight obviously means irritability or rage, anger episodes. Flight means anxiety, people who are having panic attacks, who are feeling jittery, on edge, they can't sleep because they're too upset, a lot of tearfulness. Freeze, of course, meaning depression. People just are hopeless, they're sad, they're catastrophizing, they want to crawl under the covers in bed and just not get up. So what do we do about that? Because of course we have no idea how long this stress is going to go on, which of course amplifies the stress. So it's kind of an interesting loop there that we're dealing with. So the first thing with fight, flight, or freeze, number one, obviously we want to get the stress down. How do we do that when there are things we can't control? And a lot of this obviously is out of our control. Well, we're doing, I think, what we can with trying to get testing, trying to get the government to be responsive, contacting the people in the legislature and saying we need tests, we need responsiveness. The other practical things, I'm carrying around a little spray bottle of rubbing alcohol because there's no hand sanitizer, right? But we have rubbing alcohol. When I go to the market, which I'm still doing, I spray the cart down. I particularly spray and wipe where I put my hands. After I leave the market, I spray my credit cards, I spray my wallet, I spray my handbag. Just sensible things like that we can control, and supposedly that's what we're supposed to do. Staying 6 feet away from friends and neighbors, random strangers at the store. Today at the store, they had everybody line up in the checkout line 6 feet apart, and they were very strict about that, which is cool. That's good. And right now, it's 6:11 p.m. on Friday night, and I hear down at the end of the block, my neighborhood is having a block party with everybody out on their chairs, the beverage of their choice, and they're all sitting 6 feet apart and talking and laughing. So I think those kinds of practical things reduce stress. I'll talk more about that. But the other thing is we want to bring stress down, we want to bring coping skills up. Because what's happening when we're living with that amygdala, or that anxiety center of the brain really activated, we're not thinking clearly. And I always talk about the prefrontal cortex, or that modern part of the brain, that thinking part of the brain that's logical, that can stay calm and focused, the part of the brain that really makes us our better selves. If we're upset, we're not in that part of the brain that's allowing us to have good judgment and make good decisions. So we want to calm down so we can think more clearly. Hopefully that makes sense. So what do we do to calm down? I think one of the things is to learn about the normal reaction to stress, what I'm talking about, and how it doesn't mean that anything catastrophic is happening just because we're feeling really upset, that's something that maybe we can actually calm down internally. We need to be socially connected, and I think that's probably one of the hardest things with what we're all dealing with right now. How do we maintain friendships and all the activities that we're used to having? A lot of you are already discovering Zoom, Google Hangouts. I'm using a telehealth program for therapy that's HIPAA compliant, so you can still have medical visits, talks with your doctor, your therapist, just by the internet, which is fabulous. If you don't know how to use Zoom or Google Hangouts, just post on Facebook. Somebody help me out with that. I know it's second nature for a lot of people, but a lot of other people aren't really savvy with tech stuff, and they are not married to a crazy mad scientist tech guru like I am. So if you need help, just ask for help. I think that's going to be one part of what gets us through this, is supporting each other and asking for help when we need help. So I'm doing a book club tomorrow night on Google Hangouts, and that's with a lot of people who live in the Bay Area. And I'm in Portland, Oregon. We've actually been meeting for this book club, I think, for about a year now. And it's awesome. I get to hang out with really smart people, and we read great books, and we meet online once a month. So that's obviously already happening for me. My writing group, we met last weekend on Saturday morning with Zoom. Super easy to do, was great. And then we're going to have the same group of women and I are going to have happy hour on Sunday night through Zoom the same way. And I may go, after this, I may go down at the end of the street and sit with my neighbors 6 feet apart. So, we have to get really creative with it. Obviously, Facebook is great. That's probably where a lot of people are watching this video. I love Facebook. And I think fine-tune your list. You can put people on snooze if they're really hysterical and posting constant, doom and gloom kinds of things that you find upsetting. You don't have to unfriend them. There's a way. If you need help, just ask. You can put them on snooze so you're not getting all their updates all the time, and then you can turn it back on later when you feel like it. The same thing with the news. We have 24/7 news now, which I think is really kind of a curse. We need to know what's happening, and when everything is changing by the hour, definitely changing by the day, we need to be tuned in. I think most of us do. I certainly do, but I don't need it going all the time. And I talk to some folks, especially elderly people, they have it on all the time, and it's just playing in the background, and that just keeps their heart rate up. It keeps them in that fight or flight state, and they're not thinking clearly, and they're just getting more and more agitated and not sleeping. So knowing when to tune out is really important. Let's see, what else? I have tons of notes. The thing about the hoarding, folks, the supply chain of goods, as I said, it's not the apocalypse, honest. The toilet paper factories are not going to go away. We're still going to have toilet paper. The hoarding is crazy, and honestly, I think the buying weapons and ammo is crazy too. I'll talk more about that at the end. But it just goes against my philosophy. When times are hard, we help people, and we know that people do much better in life when they have a sense of purpose. And if that purpose involves how can we make the world a better place, and how can I help people and support people, we're going to get through with a lot more resiliency than the people that are just going into absolute panic and worst case scenarios and planning on how they're going to defend their toilet paper with guns or whatever. It's like, I don't feel any safer. I don't want a gun in my house. And I don't feel any safer knowing that people out there are hoarding ammo and weapons. It just doesn't make any sense to me. That's not the way to go about it. If we want to be healthy, in my mind, I don't think it's productive. And I know people will disagree with me. I already know who they are, so that's fine. Blast away. Doesn't matter. We can disagree and still be friends. But anyway, the whole goal, I think, from a therapist's point of view is we want to calm down and be smart and take precautions and stay tuned in. Don't go into denial, but find that middle zone where we're tuned in, we're aware, we're alert, we're doing the right thing, but we're not going nuts and becoming crazy and going into fight, flight, or freeze. We don't need to do that right now. So we need to socialize. We can do a lot of that online, fortunately. That may be a bit of a learning curve for people. It may be a transition, but if you need help, ask for help. And if you don't have a group, hey, there are Facebook groups right now for all kinds of support groups for people. I think there should be more, and the more we share resources, I encourage people to share resources on comments under this video, and think about starting a group. There are a lot of people who have different disabilities, who maybe are not mobile, and they're not even out of bed. I have some friends online that are in bed. Think about starting a group, and that can be something that you do through Facebook or another medium, and I think that's a great thing to do, because even if you're not mobile, you can be of help to people, and sometimes people just need somebody to talk to. They need somebody to listen to them, and they just need to know that people care. It's a time to make that heart-to-heart connection, because that's really what builds our resiliency and keeps us buoyed up and gives us hope and keeps us going. Isolation is hard on people, moving to more online connections, book clubs. The other thought I have, and I'm hearing from a lot of clients, since we're cloistered at home, how about trying something new that you've always thought that would be kind of cool to do, but I've never done it before? Whether it be some kind of art project. And again, it's not about producing something that you're going to sell or that you need to become a famous artist. It's about doing it for the joy of doing it. It's not about the outcome. Process, not outcome. So whether it be painting, drawing, collage, some kind of fabric arts, some of you knit, some of you do whatever it is that you do with the llama wool to turn it into yarn, spinning, all that stuff. I'm not real into that. But find something that you're into. There are so many videos on YouTube. Again, aren't we lucky to have the internet right now? Because you can take language classes, you can take writing classes, you can do a writing group online, write that story or that book or that memoir, that thing about your life that you've always thought, yeah, if I had time, I'd do it, but I've never had time. Do it now, start on it, and do it in little increments. There are things that may feel really big to tackle, but do a little bit at a time, because that's really how we make progress. It's not in doing big, grand things. Listen to soothing things, whether it be audible books or music, things that make you want to dance, that's fine too. But overall, focus on things. Think of the word soothing and think of the word comfort, the clothes you wear, the sense you have in your home, things that make you feel good, rather than just going into, I'm not going to take care of myself or do anything. Really try to focus on what's soothing. And whatever that is, it's different for everybody. Sitting in the bathtub, I don't care. If it's soothing, do more of that. And if you need to lay in bed and cry for a while, that's okay too. Just don't stay there. Don't stay there forever. I always use the metaphor, a bird can land on your head, you notice the bird, you greet the bird, and then you say, okay, enough. You're not going to live on my head and build a nest. I like little stories. So yeah, very uncomfortable birds may land on your head, but you don't have to let them live there. So we're going to feel all kinds of weird and uncomfortable feelings because this is new, this is different. We never thought we'd be going through something like this before. I never did. But the other reframe on that is, think of the people in the world that have lived their entire lives, entire countries in fight, flight, or freeze, where there's been constant war, constant starvation. We're kind of spoiled here. We really haven't had to deal with, most of us have not had to deal with really severe hardships. So when you put it in perspective, we can do this. We can do this. It's a challenge, but there may be some good things that come out of it. The other thing that I've been noticing this week with people is because the teenagers are stuck at home with, mom or dad or whoever's there, they're talking more and people are kind of cracking the shells and the barriers are coming down. And I'm not seeing a lot of hostility within the homes, within the family. People are really talking about things that they've never talked about before, which is amazing. And that can be another really good thing that comes out of this. Again, some kind of exercise, whatever you can do. There are so many fitness videos on YouTube, and that includes things that are soothing, like my personal favorite, Tai Chi, but there's also yoga. There's yoga with swords. For those of you that want swords, you can just use a broomstick or whatever. Not yoga with swords, Tai Chi with swords. Maybe invent yoga with swords. That could be kind of cool too. Art classes, art tutors, everything is online. Writing groups, I've said that. Poetry. How about start an online poetry reading? I just thought of that. Wouldn't that be cool? I'm not a very good poet, but I appreciate it, and that would be kind of fun. Everybody writes stuff. Use what we're going through now as a prompt, and everybody write poems about what they're processing with that. Because this kind of thing helps your mind and it helps your emotions, and it gives you a way to not only find support and connect with other people, it gives you a way to channel your feelings. And we all have a lot of emotions right now. People who think that they're purely logical people, those are the most deluded people I ever meet, because we're not. We're emotional creatures, and managing that is the challenge when we're going through a lot of stress. So if you can get outside and go on a walk, somebody messaged me today and said, I've been going on walks with my neighbor, can we still do that? I said, well, from what I've heard, just don't hold hands, don't hug, don't get real close, but being outdoors is okay. And I think it's super good for people. I'm walking my dogs, I'm going to the supermarket, I'm buying enough for a week, the same way I always do. My store has not been sold out of anything but toilet paper and hand sanitizer, of course. But, you know, as I say, take precautions, be smart, extend your heart to people, because there's something about the limbic system of the brain, the nervous system, when we are around soothing, calm people who are smiling, we start to feel what they're feeling. The same way, if you're around really agitated, angry, rageful people, we start to react defensively. We react in the same way. So if you can be a calming force in the world, why not? You know, be a helper. And it's not really all that hard to do if you set that as a goal and an intention every day. Who can I support? Who can I be of help to? It's also another thing one of my clients told me, they're leaving love notes for each other in funny little places around the house. I thought that was a terrific idea. I'm going to tell my husband I'd like a few dozen love notes because he's behind. But I think that's a great idea. The other thought that I had when my client told me that was, how about on Facebook, people just start posting not fake stuff, but things you really appreciate about other people. I know that whenever we do that for, you know, happy birthday, and everybody jumps in and says happy birthday through Facebook, it's just a nice feeling. And I think it's what a great time to tell people, not empty compliments, but there are legitimate things we really get from each other. That's why we're Facebook friends, right? So make those posts and just let people know, hey, I care about you. Now, I'm known as a snarky person. If you know me in daily life, I'm sarcastic. I can be very prickly. I'm snarky. I'm trying to tone it down. If somebody tries to fight with me, I usually fight back. I'm working on it. I'm working on it, right? I've got a pretty reactive amygdala, right? My family knows that. But we're all a work in progress. I hate that thing, we're healthy, we're unhealthy. We're all a work in progress. We're all on a continuum. And every day we can have choices that take us on the higher path or the lower path, right? So I'm working on being on the higher path, and I hope that other people can just kind of model that too. I've certainly seen other people that have modeled it for me, and that's where I get my better intentions from others. People are telling me they're playing more board games, they're playing online video games with family. I'm trying to get my sons to do that with me again, but I'm a pretty lousy player, so if they don't need somebody for cannon fodder, I don't know that they're that motivated to include mom, but maybe we can talk them into that. No, I'm guilt tripping them into that. I might learn to play chess finally. Everybody in my family plays chess. In fact, one of my sons is a chess champion. He was in high school, but I've just never had the time or the interest in learning to play chess. But all the smart people play chess, and I like to affiliate with them. So, you know, I think I'll set that as an intention. People are going through photos. They've got stacks of wedding photos. They're putting them into albums and you know, making those for gifts for their family, things that they never had time to do. I'm going to organize my closet, organize my shoes, get bags ready for the thrift stores. I'll feel really good when I get that done. And these are things that, you know, usually there's like better stuff to do. Everybody's telling me they're watching HGTV. I don't have TV. I guess I could probably find it online, but I've never been that home oriented. So I've never done that. I don't even really know what's on it. But, you know, if that's an area of interest, I might even check it out. I might try to find it. I might even learn to cook. I'm 61 years old. I don't cook. I have this issue about cooking, right? I've written about that. It's a big issue. And I kind of have been accepting, if I haven't learned to cook by now, I'm probably just not going to. But maybe this is, you know, my gift, this opportunity. I'll learn to cook. I know people are laughing right now, but that's okay. going back to change happens incrementally, little things they add up to big things. So just do little things. Back to the toilet paper. Somebody had a great tip last night. Get a squirt bottle, right, of water. Most of the world does not use toilet paper. 75% of the world doesn't use toilet paper. So come up with an alternative. I may try that. I don't know if we have a squirt bottle, but I'll look, because this hoarding and people are lining up at Costco 2 hours before they open. It's just crazy. And fortunately, most of the stores are now putting quotas on how much you can buy. But, I wish they would have done that in the beginning. It's really been, I think that's making people freak out more because they go and there's nothing on the shelves. It's like, come on, we can do better than that. Now, the other nice thing I'll say, and I've seen it on Nextdoor. I know a lot of people hate Nextdoor. You have valid reasons, but it's the neighborhood I live in, and Nextdoor is only according to your neighborhood. I have a pretty cool neighborhood because I'm in Portland, Oregon, in a great area that I pick for the neighborhood. And people, when they run out of things like toilet paper, people are posting it on Nextdoor. I'm out of toilet paper. I saw somebody do that on Facebook last night. And guess what? Everybody swoops in and says, I'll bring you a couple rolls. And, if you need help, ask. I think that's a really big thing. It's okay to ask. Everybody's going to have to ask for support in some way. Who knows what I'll be asking for, but if you know me well, when I'm in need, I'm not too shy about asking, whether it's for information. I may need toilet paper or a squirt bottle. I don't know. Or a recipe, right? If I start cooking. More ingenuity, more problem solving, that will serve us well. Being flexible and adaptive, that will serve us well. Flexibility is such a nice trait. I know people were just nutting up when Facebook had the glitch the other day and started flagging all our posts as inappropriate, and it was just somebody's lemon cake recipe or whatever. And it's not that big of a deal. Even if Facebook had been doing that, it wouldn't be that big of a deal. And in fact, if you don't know what that was about, all 50,000 Facebook staff with no notice were sent home or told not to come in. So, and then I saw people saying, well, can't they do this online? It's like, sure, but that's going to take some time. You can't just go, with 50,000 people and have a seamless transition. So we're going to see a lot of things like that. So we've got to take a deep breath, calm down, relax, do some stretching. And if it's not life or death, we're going to be okay. We just have to make adjustments. Let's see, pages and pages of notes. There are going to be times that there are tears, there are sad things. I'm so sorry about missing the baby's births, missing the weddings. God forbid you lose a loved one, I don't know. This is the unpredictable nature of this. But as I said in the beginning, we could lose a loved one at any time, whether or not we're having a pandemic. And so I think being mindful of how we treat the people around us, the people that we care about, mend those relationships that are worth being mended, now's the time to do it. Not that all relationships can be mended. I'm not trying to guilt trip anybody. But if there's people you care about and there's a problem, it's a good time to rectify that, if possible. So reading, writing, art, Tai Chi, cooking, dance. Dancing is great. Soothing music or fun music. Classes on YouTube. Focus on being a helper. I'm getting close to the end. As I said, even if you're, of limited means, limited resources, ask for what you need, and everybody else pitch in, everybody else help. That's how other countries do it. In these small villages, rural villages in northern Thailand, I've been there. My daughter-in-law grew up in a place that was completely isolated, and she said whenever people in the village, if somebody's crops failed or they had a bad year, there was never any worry because everybody else in the village would just swoop in and they would give them food and they would all cook together and they would all eat together. And there's a real lesson to be learned from that mindset rather than going out and buying guns and weapons. It's a different way to look at things. If we support each other, we are going to recover from this. If you have a calm limbic system, you can give that to other people because episodically people are going to get upset. They're going to lose it. You be that calming force every day. We can all do something helpful right? If you've got extra of something, give it away. You know, if you see somebody online that has a need, offer. You know, we can't be a martyr. You can't save the whole world yourself. Somebody was trying to lay that on me last week. You know, it doesn't mean, you know, suffer. It doesn't mean don't eat yourself and give away all your food. But most of us can offer something, even if it's only a kind word or a smile or some encouragement to somebody. Oh, donate blood. One of my friends was donating blood today. I can't because I have no veins. I mean, like literally, I'm some kind of mutant vampire. I have no veins. I can't even get blood draws effectively, so I can't really do that. But for people who can donate blood, there was some kind of a need for it. That would be amazing. Be kind to the grocery store staff. You know, I thank them today for being there. They were wearing masks, you know, and enforcing the 6 feet apart thing. But I'm just so happy that they're there and that everybody's doing the job that they can. And thank our doctors and nurses. My gosh, we've got to help those people. We've got to give them whatever we can. Okay, kindness, generosity. I will try to be less snarky. And I want to close with the words from Abraham Lincoln. And you know, those of you who know me well or have known me for a long time probably know that I had a very rigid, religious, fundamentalist Christian upbringing. And the rigid and fundamentalist parts of it that I have found to be so filled with anger and pathology got dumped a long time ago, like about 30 years ago. But I think there was a core of that I've retained and always will retain. And if we do nothing other than go back to do unto others, you know, the golden rule will always serve all of us well. And we will all thrive if we all live that way. But this is from Abraham Lincoln, and I love it. We are not enemies, but friends. We must not be enemies. Though passion may have strained, it must not break our bonds of affection. The mystic chords of memory will swell when again touched, as surely as they will be by the better angels of our nature. Thanks.